Yo, what's up? My name is Blessing, and this is OK Wired. Get it? Because I'm talking about Dishonored and Deus Ex. Got the boxes. Earlier this year, I realized that one of my favorite gaming genres was a genre that I didn't even realize existed.
I played games in this genre plenty of times, and the games I ended up loving, but I didn't realize how similar these games were. These were games like Deus Ex, Human Revolution, Dishonored, and Bioshock. Now sit back and think to yourself, what do these games have in common? They're first person, yeah, but their similarities go beyond that. Feel free to even add Far Cry 3 or Fallout 3 into that list of games. Now think a little deeper. These are games that richly simulate a world for the player to get lost in. I talk a lot in my previous videos about how I appreciate the developer's attempt at immersion and creating unique worlds that contain enough diversity for a seamless experience. This diversity doesn't just apply to characters or setting, it applies to mechanics. These games that I listed are games that emphasize player choice, and they are what we call an immersive sim. These kinds of games I really like. The last one of these I played was Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I played that for quite a bit. I beat it actually. And there's a term for these kinds of games. Immersive Sims don't really have much of a formal definition. They're also not a new thing. They began with games like Thief, System Shock, and the original Deus Ex. However, they are now making somewhat of a silent comeback. Earlier this year, I played Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and I'm currently playing through Dishonored 2.
I had a friend come up to me recently and ask me whether he should buy Dishonored 2 or Deus Ex Mankind Divided. And the answer I gave him was, it depends on one thing really, and that is how he feels about setting. If he likes sci-fi, then get Deus Ex. If he likes fantasy, or steampunk, or whalepunk, I guess, then get Dishonored 2. Besides that, they are very similar games and almost the same game to a sense.
What makes Dishonored 2 and Deus Ex Mankind Divided similar? Well, the obvious thing is that they both emphasize stealth, but so do many other games. Another thing is that you don't have a crazy amount of health in either, meaning that you have to be careful, like many other stealth games. How about this? There's an emphasis in both games on physics and AI. The NPCs in these games are programmed to behave realistically, yet somewhat repetitively. This way, the experience feels real, however, you are subconsciously spending time tracking AI movements and reacting accordingly. These games both have very many ways you can achieve one objective. Whether these are literal alternate paths through a level, or navigating conversation trees to complete an objective. Both of these games have a system for tracking player action throughout the game and responding accordingly. They both have large amounts of narrative to be uncovered through exploration, uncovering messages and notes, listening to side conversations, and more. They are both the very same game in very different settings with very different stories. Even when I finished the prequels to both of these games on PlayStation 3, I had the same complaint for both, but I didn't even realize it. That complaint being that the game made you feel overpowered with upgrades and abilities, but punished you for using these powers to their fullest extent. But that is the name of the game. Immersive Sims want to create a realistic gaming experience through mechanics, rather than graphics, setting, and story. They combat the idea of making a game feel like a game. For example, one of my favorite games, Grand Theft Auto 5, is pretty realistic, but at the same time, it's also not. You're barely punished for killing people. You can cause havoc, with the consequence being that you're chased by the police, which are fairly easy to defend yourself against. And pretty much most of your problems are solved by shooting a bunch of dudes. For the most part, your gameplay choices carry no weight beyond that immediate moment. Now, those things are partly why I love GTA 5, but it's not immersive like Immersive Sims are immersive. Immersive Sims give you choice and consequence when it comes to handling a situation, and from there, create an involving experience based on player agency. I loved Deus Ex Human Revolution from the moment I first played it. I had similar feelings about Dishonored. I have similar feelings about both of their sequels. These are games that allow me to play the way I want to play. And these games feel that way because this is how they were designed to feel. I can play through both games without killing a single person, or I can do just the opposite. Problem solving and experiencing these worlds are made fun because they make me feel as if the possibilities are endless. And if more games follow suit, eventually the possibilities will be. This is why the immersive sim genre is important to games and important in learning how to create an experience unlike any other.
Thank you so much for checking out OK Wired. This is going to be my final episode of the year. I will be back next year with more videos, more critiques, more in-depth looks, and more stuff. I almost said content. I don't like the word content. More stuff, more things on the internet. Until then, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'll see you later.
Thank you so much for checking out Wired. If you enjoyed it, you should totally subscribe, like, and comment to let me know what you think. My name is Blessing. You can also find me on Twitter at Blessing Jr. You can find the OK Beast podcast on iTunes, and you can find more content right here on OK Beast.